So let's keep things rolling. We'll move it along. We just got done talking about developer engagement. And how do you know if you're engaging with your devs if you're not measuring anything? So at Avalanche, we're very science-driven. We measure everything, and we try to inform all our decisions with data where it helps. And our friends at Catalyze actually have been very helpful in helping us make sense out of all that social data. And so I'd like to invite up Ben Coe from Catalyze to talk to us a little bit about actually measuring some of these things. So please come on up. Give him a warm welcome.
Hi everyone, this is Ben Coe from Catalyze Research. 안녕하세요. 저는 한국의 고병호라고 합니다. For today, I'm going to be talking about analyzing Web3 community through social listening. So many of you guys, of course, know about Web3 community. It's a community that runs the projects. But have you guys heard about social listening before? I'm pretty sure it's a term that you haven't heard before. So today, I'm going to be talking about how Web3 community can be combined with social listening to come up with many different kinds of useful insights. So before we go into the details, first I'd like to give you an introduction of myself and the company. So we go back to 2017. We were founded in Shanghai, China, when at that time Crypto Hub was formed. And we started as a venture capital. So before it was called the Catalyze Ventures. And what we did was we invested in projects in the early stages and helped them grow as an acceleration. Within the growth, there are a lot of different kinds of activities like helping them organize events to connect with an offline audience and helping them with online activities to raise their awareness. And what we found out was that the good tech, good team, and good token metrics or tokenomics is important, but out of every factors of success, community is the most important part. So then we focused on the community building for the rest of our business. And it was very difficult for us to find out what exactly made the community an important part of the project. We know in our heart that community is the most important part for the project. But why is it important? And that's why we wanted to dig deep and wanted to take a look at the data, because looking at the data proves the result that we see outside. So then we focused on the data, but not just any data, but social data. So later on in the presentation, I'll be explaining more about the social listening and what kind of data we analyze and how we collect these data. So community, what exactly is a community? And what is it so different that people emphasize it? So in the traditional companies, they also have a community, but nothing like Web3 community. So the three main factors of community is users, developers, and investors. But it's not just limited to that. Of course, there's more like the government and other parts. But traditional companies, the relationship between the users and developers and investors are very different from the Web3 community. In the traditional companies, the communication between the user and the company is very limited. And developers, they're just the employees, and their voice cannot be raised in most of the situations. And investors, if we're talking about early stage projects, investors don't have much of a voice, much of a governance over the company. But when traditional companies get listed on big exchanges like NASDAQ or S&P 500, that's where the investors have the ability to vote for for their ideas. But what's so different with Web3 community? In Web3, we consider the community as a team because we approach as a decentralized organization rather than a centralized arm. So yesterday's user can become today's colleague, a teammate, and yesterday's developer can become a core developer of a project. And investors, they also become a team to support us in a long term because they're both a user using the tokens and investor having a stake at the company. So we all know that Web3 community is very important, but how do we quantify it to see the actual data that proves Web3 community is important? That's where the social listening comes in. Many of you probably heard about social listening or social hearing or many other terms, but this is basically collecting data from many different social media channels, such as Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, or even closed communities like Telegram or WhatsApp and all these communities. So social listening is a process of monitoring online conversations and collecting the data from social platforms like the ones I just mentioned and on a chosen topic. So we'll be discussing about crypto or blockchain or Web3 in specific. So what we do with the data that we first collect within the social media is that we first cleanse it through getting rid of all the garbage data, which is, most of you probably know, any data scientist here would agree that the most difficult part about dealing with data is cleansing it. So we put most of our effort in cleansing the data, getting rid of the garbage, and then after that, that's where the data analyst comes in. And within the data, we find some kind of patterns or some kind of insights. And then that insight becomes something like this. So this is the first, I'll be talking about 3 different kinds of applications. And this is how social listening is combined with Web3 community. So this is actually not the price, it's the volume of social mentions. So if I mention crypto or Web3 or any related words on the internet, then that would count as 1. And we can also discuss about reach, but that's another story. So I'll be mentioning about the social mentions today. So the funny part here is that, or important part, is from 2021 November, the market went into the bearish trend. But when we see the social volume, it's still increasing, which means social interest is still very vibrant, and we are not in the bear market yet. Because I know many of you here started getting into crypto even before 2017 and have experiences over experiencing the crypto winter, a long-lasting winter that nobody wants. So in 2018, when the crypto market was in the downtrend, the social volume also went to the downtrend as well. But here, since the trend is upward, we can find that we're not actually in the bearish trend. And with the increasing trend, we'll see some kind of spikes on top. And these are called the peaks, and we call it the peak driver. And within the social volume, there are some events or issues that gain more interest than others. And here, I brought 3 examples. So first, when Elon Musk started mentioning about Bitcoin or the crypto or Dogecoin or any other blockchain-related topics, of course the social volume went up. But in this specific case, it's when Tesla suspended the purchase of vehicle through Bitcoin. And the peak compared to other peak is really large, which means a lot of people are focusing or discussing about this topic. And also, recently, there has been a crash in Luna, unfortunately, because of the algorithmic structure. We see that we thought the issue was too big, but compared to the one on the left, which is Tesla, it's comparatively a bit smaller than that. And what we found out was the 2016 hack happened in Bitfinex, and I was never aware of it, and it was just not big enough for me to understand or remember it. But we found out in a peak, the recent, there has been a seize for 3.6 billion Bitcoin from a couple hackers. These are like a couple hackers who hacked back in 2016, and they got caught recently. And here we can see the different kind of level of social volume. And here next, I'll go to talk about the next crypto hub. So many of you here are owning a company or getting ready to start a company. And navigating the location, the right location, is very important. So back to 2017, when Bitcoin mining was huge in China, the crypto hub was created in China, Shanghai, and that's where I was at that time. And later on, 2018, the social interest moved to Korea because many traders got into crypto, and Korea had a huge hype in the crypto market. In 2019 to 2020, because Singapore came up with a regulation regarding the token issuance or virtual asset provider license, many crypto projects went to Singapore to settle. And then 2021, the most volume came from the United States, and most of the volume consisted of NFTs. And that's where many projects decided to move to United States. So where would be the next crypto hub where people, many projects are in one place and communicate and build projects? So through our social volume, social data, we figured out the next social hub, crypto hub would be Dubai. So right now, because the license was issued and it started on April, not many projects moved to Dubai. Most of the projects were just exchanges moved to Dubai. But in the near future, within a year, based on the social data, there's going to be many projects moving to Dubai, and the crypto hub is going to be formed for at least half to a year. So many of you would be curious about what the next trend is. This is a BCG metrics where a lot of business and crypto or business and strategy consultants use. Coming from a consultancy background, I love using this chart. And if we look at the leader part, this is where the current trend is at. NFT, metaverse, and all kinds of Web3 projects, and X to earn, which means the walk to earn or move to earn, play to earn. And recently, I've seen something like sleep to earn. I don't know how that project's going to go, but these kind of projects are trending right now based on the social data. And if we see the X-Champs, our DeFi and gaming part is kind of fading in the data. And later on, 6 months or 1 year later, all the leaders pretty much are going to the X-Champ part because according to social growth, gaming and DeFi are lacking in that part. So the real question here is, what is the next crypto trend? So we can take a look at the challenger part where they have small size of social share in the market, but have a high number of social growth. So many of you probably know about public blockchain, but maybe not familiar with the word like layer 1, layer 2. But here we can see that layer 1, DAO, Relayer are the most projects with or sectors with the most growth. So layer 1, of course, Avalanche is a layer 1, and many people who is in the tech or the business are getting to know more about layer 1. And DAO has been around since a long time ago, like 2016, but now there are guilds in gaming, and there's also DAO ventures and investment. People are trying to decentralize applications, and it's actually working as we speak. And Relayer is a new kind of concept, but it focuses on increasing the user experience for mass adoption. So we can see that the trend is moving towards a mass adoption, and the next mega trend would come from somewhere from challenger area. So these are kind of application, or these are kind of insights that we come up with through analyzing social data. And after looking into the mega trend or the macro trend, we'll take a look at specific cases for Avalanche. So Avalanche is a layer 1 project, a public blockchain, wants to achieve many things. And I want to let you know that this part is just on focusing on the community part, not the tech or any other business development. So what is important part for the community? So I think diversity is important. In this event, I see many people coming from different countries, and we're all fans of Avalanche. And being diverse means there's more creativity. And for Avalanche, the coverage of regional area is very diverse, and you can see the deep red is from the United States, Australia, Japan, Korea. Many countries are interested in Avalanche. And if I calculate or analyze the community penetration rate for the other projects, it's at about 67%, which means with an average project, they're not localized in some of the areas. But for Avalanche, other than the gray area, Avalanche is active in those red areas. And here, so analyzing or assessing a project, seeing how they're doing right now and predicting the future, we have to see two factors. First is the unique number of interest. So here we can say unique number of mentions and reach, and also the growth rate of the project. And what we focused here is the growth rate, because we want to see which project or how Avalanche will do in the future. So the data we collected was from the beginning of, or July 21st to July 2022 here as we speak. And in a year of time, Avalanche had more than 700% of growth rate in social volume, which means a lot more people are talking about Avalanche and Avalanche-related topics. So what kind of data was consistent in the 700% increase or growth rate? So that's why we analyzed the details, or we labeled the details of what made Avalanche so successful in the last year. And so the topic covered was DeFi, NFT, fundraising, which is the Avalanche, metaverse, and gaming. So many projects also want some kind of ecosystem map like this, and most of the projects are focusing just on one thing. But for Avalanche, because it's so diverse and it's so distributed, the ecosystem is consisted of many different topics, and each topics are consisted of either tech or dApps or even just a topic about the trends. So when we see Avalanche, parts at the gray area is where we should look at and focus more on, and parts in the red area is where we're strong at. So now we want to hear about the voices of the community, what people are actually talking about Avalanche. So within the voices of community, there are a few topics that people talk the most about and people rate Avalanche. And these are the words that came out from the internet, as in like from Twitter, YouTube, and all the blogs and news media like Bloomberg or any other kinds like CoinDesk. And we found out that 41% of the topic was about fast transaction. And the second is safe and secure. And the third is eco-friendly. And the rest is user-friendly, decentralized, and low gas fee. So this kind of sums up what people think about Avalanche. So if we look into the actual text that we analyze, we collected data something like this. You'll notice for fast transaction speed, what a user actually said was, you'll notice how fast a transaction is on Corbata. Very excited for projects launching on AVIX soon. So these kind of expression leaves footprints on the internet, and that's where we collect them and analyze. And it's funny how, it's interesting how we are at an event where a Formula E is organized, and Avalanche is in partnerships with Formula E Andretti team. And at the beginning, when I first heard about the partnership, I was curious how Avalanche decided to do this kind of a partnership. And so I dug deep, and looked into what was the reason behind it. And the first, second, and third topics that users discuss about Avalanche is fast, eco-friendly, and safe and secure. And the funny thing is, you guys may know or may not know, but Formula One and Formula E are different in that Formula E is more eco-friendly. And I think that's where the connection came from. So by analyzing these data, we can find out what was behind the choices that projects make. And by having a concept of eco-friendly and sustainable and fast, we can kind of match it with the Andretti Formula E. And that's where people picture Avalanche when they hear about Avalanche, or even for Andretti. So through social data, we can analyze these kind of things like macro, or like audience, and even competitors. What we want to do is, there are many partnerships or business development or any kind of things that are on the media where we first hear about it. But what is actually happening in the back? Like, what is actually the reason behind all these choices? So we dig deep and look into the social footprints of the internet, social media, and we want to give insights like this. And hope you had a good time. And if you have any questions about the social listening or social analysis or anything related to what I just presented, I'll be around. And thank you for listening.
Right, thank you, Ben. Data can be very interesting, and you're right. Speed, science, sustainability. It's really cool to see data telling that same story. All right, so thanks for your time and thanks for your help. Catalyze, Ben Coe, thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so it was interesting looking at the